it's Kim back from Making Creative Memories in Time, and I am super excited to share with you some brand new product that has just been released. I am so excited to have this product in our line. So we have just released some Memento Dewdrop inks, and this is how they came in my package, all rubber banded together. So there is this rich cocoa, which is a deep, like chocolatey brown, okay? And then there is this Lilac Posies, which is a beautiful magenta plum color. And then there is Potter's Clay, which is just this gorgeous fall rust color. And, friends, not only that, but we have blending brushes that match. And these came all put together with the band as well. So, and the color of the handle corresponds to the color of the ink. This handle is called Lilac Plum. And when you open it up, I'm loving these blending brushes. They have a cover with the cute little Creative Memories shutter. And they just slide right off. I don't know if you noticed, I just took my thumb and pushed. Slide right off. Super soft, smooth, nice big head. And this cover is perfect for travel. Like if you're traveling to a crop, you're not going to get any ink. Like if you just stick this in your bag, that's going to protect papers and other things from getting ink. This one is called Cocoa Fudge. I even thought about putting the color name of the brush on the brush, but nah, it's going to be pretty obvious. It matches up with the rich cocoa. And that one has the, like the fudge shutter. And then this one is called Clay Caramel. So we have 2 new papers that have been released, color cardstock released in our line. One is a caramel and one is a beautiful plum. So this one is that caramel, and you have that caramel shutter. And then, before I demonstrate, I'll take this plastic off. And then we have this beautiful 5x5 stencil called Falling Leaves and Flowers. And we're going to play with this today, friends. Yes, we are. So the quality of this is, it's a really nice, thick quality stencil. So you have 4 different edge designs, and we'll look at all of that. You have a little shutter right here. You have 4 different falling leaf designs. You have an acorn. You have like just a fall sprig. You have 3 different size mums, and then you have this leaf border. And this hole right here is so that you can attach that to a jump ring. Now, this stencil was Celestial Moments or something along the line of that. And it came out for advisors right around the time that one of our secret boxes came out. But if you wanted to keep your stencils together with a jump ring, these also fit in the sort and stash binder in those pockets. So I just wanted to show you why that hole was there, just in case you didn't know. So what we are going to do, friends, we are going to use a piece of bright white cardstock, and we're going to play a little bit. We have also released our craft mat. Now, our craft mat is awesome. My wish is that it would be a little bit larger, but we're happy with it. So we have the side that has the logo. This is the sticky side, which means it's the side that goes down. The really slick, non-porous side is the side that you're going to use when you're inking or doing any kind of mixed media. So I'm going to put this down to one side of my mat. Now, mine's a little curly, but that's okay. I've had it rolled up. I've had this for a hot minute. And you can see that right there. So we're just going to practice, friends. I am going to snip these open. I like that they come all sealed. And then these are perfect little dewdrops. They're sort of like a tear shape. Get that plastic off. And let's get the Lilac Posy. I'm going to have to, as we introduce more ink colors, and we will. I don't know that we'll ever have a super large collection, but we will introduce more colors. I'm going to have to think about a storage system for them. So these are archival, and they are safe for photos. They are fade resistant dye ink, okay? And I love them so much. So they are perfectly safe for any of your projects. I am going to start, I believe, first with this potter's clay. And I'm going to pull in that brush. And what I'm going to do, now you guys know I am currently using mint tape from, I think I get this at scrapbook.com. And this is something that I love, love, love to use when I am playing with stencils. Or if you just need to hold something down. It's a low tack. But I happen to know, and I think it's okay to share this with you. We will be coming out with a low tack tape. You'll see that very, very soon. So I am just going to tape off what I want to do is I want to show you this border and I want to show you that leaf, okay? So we are going to tape off where the next border starts. Okay, and this is just a practice. So when you use your potter's clay and your caramel brush, you are going to soak up the bristles in a round pattern. Now, what's going to happen, let me pull out a scrap piece. Let me pull a scrap piece of paper, friends. So, if I don't pat that off, it's going to be a little bit darker than I want it to be, okay? So, we're going to soak this up. And the reason I have this mat, or you could even use an extra piece of paper, scrap paper, is pat that off, pounce a little bit, okay? I'm using a very light hand, but I'm going to go in a circular motion, and I'm going to start in the air. And what I want you to see right now, friends, is I want you to be able to see the edge that is being created right along with that leaf pattern that is in that stencil, okay? And you can see that a little bit, I didn't keep going back into my ink after I started. A little bit goes a long, long way. So let's pull this up. Now this is just for demonstration purposes. This is not any indicator of how I would use this on a scrapbook page, on a card. This is just demonstration purposes only. So can you see that little scallop edge, and then you get that little leaf border? Isn't that pretty, friends? I love it. And you all know I always talk to you about how to clean your stencil. You know, I keep a little distress sprayer right here on my table. And you know my affection for microfiber towels. And that's all you have to do to clean this, friends. You just have to have a little misting bottle and microfiber towel, paper towels, just anything. But you notice I cleaned it on this craft mat because this craft mat wipes clean beautifully, okay? So we just want to make sure there's not any water left behind, and we're going to come in and look at a different part of this stencil. Okay, so now I'm going to move to this sort of, this looks like a tooth, like a razor edge tooth. And if you, for me, I grew up around different types of trees here in the South, and that really for me looks like birch leaf. Birch leaf has a little bit of a sawtooth, and that's sort of what that reminds me of. Now, what I'm going to do here, friends, is I'm going to put this right over that little hole because I don't want that hole to be in this. And I am going to come in with, I think I'm just going to come in with the rich cocoa for that edge, okay? And remember, we are going, and the only reason I do this is just to make sure there's not any little fuzz on it after it's been trimmed down at the factory. So we're going to go in a circular motion, okay? And then we can swipe up and down. Now remember, we're going to tap off. Start in the air and with a light hand, okay? Very light hand. Here's the thing about inking. You can always get darker, but you can't get lighter, okay? So when you ink, you always want to start with a very light hand. And I am going to brag to you right now about how soft and smooth these blending brushes are. I love them. They are so soft and smooth. Okay, so look at what a pretty edge that has created. Can you see sort of those little teeth, that saw edge in that one? So we are going to do the same thing. We're just going to mist this and wipe that ink off. And you want to dry both sides, because if there's any water left on your stencil, and I want to point out, when you have intricate cuts like this leaf, you always want to pat and not swipe, because you can bend and break those little intricate pieces, and you don't want to do that, okay? So our next, we're just going to go ahead and we'll just stay with the rich cocoa to show these edges. So we're going to go ahead next, and we are going to show this next edge, which is a cute little scallop edge. And on this, we want to make sure that we cover up those leaf stems. Cover up that little shutter. And I want to cover up that leaf stem right there. I think that right there might be a teeny little piece. And I'm not going to go back in the ink. I'm going to leave what ink I already had on my blending brush, just to show you that these brushes really absorb and hold on to the ink. And so if inking is new to you, you haven't tried ink before, you want to do, if you get this bundle, and let me say this, so the craft mat is $15. the ink bundle, which includes all 3 brushes, all 3 ink dewdrops, and the stencil, is $38. It just released this week, and it's already on last chance. Okay, the only way you can get the matching brushes is in the bundle, but you can get the ink dewdrops for $6 each and the stencil for $5. But you can only get the matching brushes in this bundle. If you get this, if you have this, friends, if you've already ordered it, or if you order it, link down below, practice. If this is not something that you're used to, grab a sheet of paper and just practice. Here I inked the brush. Here I did not go back into the ink. I just used what ink was left on the brush. See that different effect? Love it. And we have one more edge to go, but we're going to wipe this up. And my cloth is already wet from cleaning 2 other times. So I'm just going to use that and wipe down. Now we have one more edge, and we're going to go ahead and do that in the brown as well. This time I will go back in and pick up just a little more ink. Circular motion. I'm going to pat that off. I didn't pick up a lot of ink, just a little. Okay. And here we go, friends. This is a really cute, dainty little scallop. And you can see that I'm not getting a really dark. So I'm going to go back in. Beautiful, soft, like butter. I mean, this is so soft, friends. I can't even tell you how pretty this is. Oh, in person, it's beautiful. It is beautiful. So there's a different edge. So you get all 4 of these edges on your little 5x5 stencil. Pretty, pretty. Okay, let's clean that, and then we're going to look at some other pieces of the stencil. So, staying with the brown, let's do this little acorn. And all I'm going to do is just cover up the things that are right around that acorn that I do not want any ink. So this is why we use a low-tack tape, is I don't want any ink to get in any like of these other. If I only want that little acorn, then I don't want any of the mum. I don't want any of the leaves. I don't want any of the little scallops, edges. So we're going to ink this up, pat that off, and I'm going into the acorn. And I'm just for demonstration purposes, I want this little acorn to be really dark so that you can see how pretty that is. And if you do a good job masking everything around it, you're not even going to see that little blurry tape. So see how soft all of this is? But I wanted that acorn to be really dark, so I kept going over and kept going over. Isn't that pretty? Oh, leave some comments. Tell me, friends, are you loving this? I am loving this. I'm, as a former, close to my heart, consultant maker who loved ink, right? Close to my heart, we loved our ink. I am so happy that we are offering ink now, that we are offering stencils. I love this. I love it. And here's how I see using these leaves and this acorn, and especially this little sprig. This is perfect foundation building for clusters. I love that. So let's take a look at this little, I'm going to put this down this edge. And I think just to make this show up real pretty, we're going to do this in the Lilac Posy, I think. And let's pull in some more tape. And I think I'm going to do this in the Lilac Posy. Just because we haven't, whoops. This is just sample, friends, just sample. I'm just using this cardstock to show you guys Lilac Posy. Now this one is obviously going to be a nice bright. Right there's what I'm talking about when I say clean it off. There's one little strand. And there's another one. You want to make sure that there's not any stray fibers, because that will smear when you start, okay? Look what a beautiful color. Pat that off. Circle, motion. This is a very vibrant and bright color. Oh. Now, you can do shading where you have darker spots and lighter spots, and that's what I have right now. But for demonstration purposes, and I like to do that when I stencil because it picks up light differently, and I love to do that. That adds to visual texture, visual elements. I just love different shading when I'm putting that on my page. But for demonstration purposes, I am going to go back in with some more ink and make it really deep and defined like I did that acorn. Just for demonstration purposes. Again, I'm going in a circular motion. I'm kind of using my thumb and my finger to go in the circular motion and show you guys. Beautiful blending, absolutely beautiful blending. Isn't that pretty? Don't you love that little sprig? So are you starting to see now how this can be a foundational base to a cluster? I hope so, friends. It's beautiful. I love it. So happy that we have these now. And so we're just going to, for the moment, now remember, this is one I'm going to spray my cloth because we have that intricate work here. So we're just going to wipe and pat because we do not want to tear this stencil in any way. Even though it's a nice thick, those little intricate cuts, we don't want anything to happen to them, friends. Okay, next I'm just going to do these leaves, and I am going to, I'm going to let them sort of cascade and fall. And so I'm going to cover I think I have that one cut off right there. Let's just tear this, friends. Trying to keep that scallop out of the way. But at the same time, I don't want to cut off that leaf. We do want to cover that little shutter without getting in our leaf. So if you're new to stenciling, if you're new to using stencils and ink, you definitely want to get some low-tack tape. I know Michael's has a roll that is white. This mint tape I order from scrapbook.com, and we will have some coming sometime soon. We advisors just got a vote box to vote on a fun new tool coming, and you guys may have seen that. It is a die cutting system, and when we were doing our webinar to learn about the die cutting machine and the dies and the embossing folders, they introduced to us, they showed us a I think they called it place tape, and that's what this is. It's just a low-tack tape to hold things in place. So we're going back to Potter's Clay. We're going to tap off. Now, this time I am going to do some shading. We're going to go in with some light, just light coverage first. And this is like how I would use this on a real page, okay, if this was a real project. Then I'm going to just ink up the corner. And we're going to come in holding my brush at a little bit of an angle. And we're just going to put some definition here and there, just for that visual texture, visual interest. And on this one, I intentionally left it sort of high and low spots, so to speak. High and low spots. So that you get that little bit of shading and definition and visual texture. Isn't that Potter's Clay gorgeous? I am so in love with that color, friends. So, like 10 out of 10, 20 out of 10, 500 out of 10. Home office product development team knocked this out of the park. I love this stencil. I love these ink choices. These are beautiful for fall. But that doesn't mean Lilac Posy is only a fall color, friends. That does not mean Lilac Posy is only a fall color. I could see Lilac Posy in a non-traditional Christmas collection, which I have no idea what our Christmas collection is going to look like this year. But I can see Lilac Posy being used all throughout the year, not just a beautiful fall plum color. Okay, and the final demo that I am going to do with you is this gorgeous mum. So this mum is absolutely beautiful. Let's go ahead and cover up that little acorn. Let's cover up this guy. Beautiful. You all know me. I love all, give me all the pretty things, friends. Bring them all to me. I'm all about it. Again, this is just, I'm doing this to demo for you. And of course, we're going to use Lilac Posy, right? How can we not use Lilac Posy on this one? And then I'm going to use this little piece and show you some things that you can do just with your... Okay, so we're going to do this sort of like we just did those leaves. We're going to go in and we're going to drop in some light color. Again, we're going circular. And then we're going to rub. That one, for whatever reason, there are bristles that keep coming out. Circular and then back and forth, and we're going to tap. Now, light hand, friends, because I want this to be darker and lighter. So I'm going in first, circular motion. I'm going to go with a very light hand. We can always layer and add more, but we can't take away, okay? Very light hand. I'm going to hold that up so you can see I've deposited some ink. I'm not going back in the ink, but I'm going to use what's on the brush, and I'm going to put smaller little circular motion with more pressure, okay? Smaller circular motion with more pressure. Now I am going to go back in the ink like I did on the leaves with the potter's clay. I'm going to mostly go on the edges there of that brush, and that's how I'm going to pressure small little strokes, because I want like a darker shadowy area here. Okay, now up here, this is where we kind of have to be careful because they come together. Which it's okay. If we get ink in one of the other ones, it's perfectly fine. I'm just showing you that you can control your ink flow so that you have... Now I'm just going to take patting off what's left on my brush. Again, a soft hand. And I'm going to blend in more here so that I have a little bit darker coverage where it was light in the very beginning, but I'm still having that darker area. Now I want my little centers to be a little bit darker. I'm gonna try... Now, you guys who follow me know I have itty bitty brushes, like itty bitty brushes. If you want to pick up little brushes, intricate brushes, you can find these anywhere. We will just be offering the one size brush, or at least for the foreseeable future, we will just be offering the one brush. But as you learn how to use different tips and angles and parts of your brush, you'll see that you can do different things with it. So let's take a look at what that looks like. Oh, how pretty, friends. Can you see that? So we have the lighter areas, we have the darker areas, and then you can barely tell I came back in with a little bit darker right in those center areas. Isn't that pretty? So can you see now how you can layer these and build and make absolutely beautiful little foundations for clusters? I love it. I love it. Okay, let's get this cleaned, and then we'll look at things that we can do with, and you can keep reusing your tape as long as you have a place to store it and it doesn't like fall into your carpeting. And I try to reuse and stick it on the side of my desk and it falls into my rug. I have a nice fluffy shag rug under my scrapbook desk, and so when it falls off, that's time for me to just trash it. So I think I've shown you all the different things. We did not look at that little shutter. Let's go ahead real quickly and look at that little shutter. We're just going to use whatever ink is on the blending brush and look at that cute little shutter. Isn't that adorable? It's more of a trademark, but you can totally use it. Like, I could see myself using that little shutter, masking around it so you don't get this little shadow effect, and letting that be like little scatter elements in a cluster. I could totally see myself doing that, friends. So, another way that you can use these little dewdrops, let's say that this is a photo mat, okay? You can use these dewdrops straight to your page, okay? ink pad straight to your page. Can you see how that really shows up? But then you can also come in a little bit messy for some distressing. And you see how you get those little edges. And the thing about ink, friends, is ink can be as clean and neat as you want it to be, but it can also be as messy as you want it to be, okay? If you do paper tearing, you can, and I'm just going to continue to use Lilac Posy because it's what I have open. You can use ink and it can be as controlled, again, or as messy as you want it to be. Right now I'm making it pretty controlled, okay? Because if this were a real something I was scrapbooking, I would still want that white tear to be there. But you see how that defines that edge? But then it could also be heavy and messy if you wanted it to be heavy and messy. Now, you saw me have my little drop earlier. You can just stamp with these. I probably would not stamp with them. Like, you could use them to create little flowers or whatever. I probably would not do that. I would only do edge like this or blending. That's how I would use these. And then, like with our Close to My Heart inks, our pads were made so that they stored upside down so that the dye ink would sit. Like ours are magnetic, the Close to My Heart ones. And when you store them, they're upside down so the ink sits on the surface of the pad. I have not heard that we need to do these this way. And as a matter of fact, until I actually get storage for these, as I collect more, I just have a little acrylic case that I had picked up at some little office supply, beauty supply, and I'm just sitting mine in that, and they sit in a little rolly cart to the side. And I have several different types of brush storage. I have this little thing that came from, I think this came from scrapbook.com, I think. These are Distress Oxide brushes, but you see that your brushes will sit down in there. This is the only one of these I have. This is great for brushes. These are Distress Oxides. And then I have I can't take it out because it's wedged in really well. It's acrylic like this, and it's separated like pen holders, and they're stuffed down in that. It's wedged in really tight in my little cart, and I'm sorry I can't take it out. But you could also, even if you just, as you collect these, you could even, if you have one of these little things, you could drop them right in the side pocket if that's sitting on your desk. So be creative with how you store your brushes and your inks. Now, as far as my stencil, I probably am going to put my stencil in my sort and stash in one of those 6x6 pockets. That's probably, and I will use my label maker and label it. But then I probably, just to make sure it doesn't get damaged, I probably will still keep this and slide it in that pocket. And, but I probably will put falling leaves and flowers on the front of that pocket because I want to be able to see the stencil. That's probably how I'll store them. So, hopefully you have enjoyed this little look into our 3 new ink colors. Lilac Posy and Potter's Clay and Rich Cocoa. Hopefully you have enjoyed that look. Hopefully you have enjoyed this stencil. And let me know if you have any questions. Again, the only way you can get the brush is in that bundle. You can purchase the mat for $15. All of this will be linked below. And the stencil you can get for $5. You can get the inks individually for $6. The tape came from scrapbook.com, but we will, sometime in the very near future, we will be releasing tape. So, I can't wait to hear your comments and your feedback. And thanks, friends. Until next time, happy scrapping.